Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Kiodiekin. So I finally was able to get Dreamcast to run full speed here on the Raspberry Pi 02W using the GPI case. So I'll walk you guys through some of the settings right now. I'm just quickly testing out Confidential Mission. However, to get Marvel vs. Capcom 2 pretty much running at about a 90% rate. There's still a little bit of lags when there's multiple characters on the screen, but for the most part it plays decently. I was able to do all of my aerial combos and didn't have any issues. So I'm just going to test this really quick, and then of course I'm going to walk you guys through some of the settings when you guys can get this in your hands. However, I just want to see if some of my additional settings have carried over. I did switch over the emulator from FLYCAST to FLYCAST, and then of course I did overclock my Raspberry Pi Zero to 1.2 gigahertz. I remember when I played this game a few days ago, I did have some slowdown time, so I want to see if those overall improvements did apply here as well.
Let's get out of here. No, we have to get the disc back.
All right, we'll see if there's any slowdown time here. If not, then we've definitely made some improvements. Hit the guy, he's right there in front of you. No slowdown time. Excellent sign. All right, so last time I played this, as soon as I turned around, there was slowdown time. Nope. Awesome. All right, so my overall improvements have worked. So again, the first thing I did was I went in and overclocked. I had to put the memory card or the SD card in my computer, went to the config text, and then went to 1.2 gigahertz for overclocking. But I want to show you guys the initial settings that I did in order to get all of this running a little bit better. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go to Raspberry config and options. And again, I've done tutorials on this in the past on the Raspberry Pi 4. And we want to go to Raspberry config. Now, if you guys have watched my other tutorials, I pretty much am against overclocking. I feel you really don't need it. In this particular case, you do, because you need to get a little bit more power out of the board. So let's go to advanced configurations. And then we want to go to resolution set a specific. And it was at 720 by 480. So I dropped it down to 640 by 4080. So in order to get the best performance period out of any type of Raspberry Pi board, you always want to take it down to the lowest possible setting. And that'll give you maximum power, maximum increase for the board. And then you want to let your visual display or your TV upscale it for you. So again, I've done videos in this in the past. In fact, you can even do this with the Redream emulator, your Raspberry Pi 4, your Raspberry Pi 3. Most people typically run at 1080p, and that's the reason why you can't get the best optimal performance out of your board, is because your Pi visually is trying to upscale plus output all that power at the same time. So again, you want to drop it down to 640 by 480, and then of course overclock if you want to. I've already done it, but this would typically require you to reboot. I'll exit out. And let's go ahead and play some Dreamcast games. But yeah, this same method will work for any type of Raspberry Pi board. Let's go to... If you guys want to see a drastic difference, make sure you check out my previous video. So, all right, so before I go into the actual game, I'm going to hit AB a couple of times. For this specific game, or actually for this one, FLYCAST is working pretty good. So we're going to stick with that. I did try Rycast, Audio, OMX, and OSX. Had some issues with a couple of them. And then, of course, we want to go to... let's select default video mode. So my default video mode is SDTV 4:3 aspect ratio. Again, you want to stay away from 16 by 9. I mean, that's good for bigger TVs and stuff like that. But again, because the Pi requires so much power to run visually, you want to take it down to the lowest aspect ratio, not just within Raspberry config, but you also want to make sure you set that for the emulator. So we wanted to go ahead and do that. Let's see here. I think there was another setting in here I need to change. Nope, we're going to leave it there. All right, we'll leave that one the same as well. Yeah, let's go ahead and launch. Also, too, you want to leave off all your shaders. I've noticed that to be a problem as well. One of the other guys in the groups, I don't know his name, he suggested that I overclock to get better settings. So I tried it, tried FLYCAST, and of course added in my own little tweaks, and then of course now we have much better performance on Dreamcast for the Raspberry Pi 02W. And you know what? I'll go ahead and set the hertz right now to 60. I know before I was testing it with 50. I'll turn it up so you guys can hear it. And even if you overclock or not, this intro screen always plays well. Never had an issue with that. And the image I'm using is the new Supreme GPI 2. Hasn't been released yet. This comes out November 4th. Or no, I'm sorry, no, December 5th is when it comes out for backers of the Supreme team. And as far as I know, this is the only Retropie base that is out there right now. That's right. That's how we handle business around here. That is not bad at all. Now you'll notice here while I'm using Hulk, there's an additional bit of slowdown time going on here. I wonder if that has to do with the sprites because Hulk is a bigger character. Obviously with Marvel vs. Capcom 2, because there's a bunch of action and animation going on at the same time with additional characters. There's still a little bit of slow time there, but it's pretty weird that the game slowed down just a little bit with the Incredible Hulk. So I do believe there are some additional settings I can adjust within RetroArch. I can fix maybe some sprites or whatnot, maybe some additional GPU settings I can fix to get the better optimal experience. But other than that, I'm really happy with how things are looking. So as you can see, when I switch it back over to Spider-Man and use some other characters, everything kind of returns back to normal. But again, I'm still playing around with this, and but I'm really happy with the performance that we're getting here. Another thing I definitely want to try out is I'm going to try to max out my board and overclock it just a little bit more. I've taken it down to the lowest possible resolution, but it's pretty impressive right now. Crap. Now I wanted to make sure I included this part in the video. The game will freeze for about a good 3 seconds here. I wasn't sure what was going on at the time. I thought maybe the system was just getting ready to shut down. Maybe I overclocked it a little too much, but just a little graphical hiccup there. Maybe it's some GPU settings, but I definitely wanted to include this in here so you guys know what to expect with this performance. Additionally, maybe if you guys are a little bit familiar with it in this category, but I'll continue to play with it and let you guys know what my results are, but it's all good. All right, guys, so that's pretty much right now the performance of this on Dreamcast. However, I did notice that there was a little bit more slowdown time, obviously, when I used the Hulk compared to Spider-Man and maybe some of the other characters. There may be some additional improvements I can make. In fact, let's go here to RetroArch settings. And let's see, this is resume, take shot. We got options. So since I noticed that there was additional slowdown time with bigger characters, obviously like the Hulk, I wonder if I could turn down the sprites. All of my shaders are turned off. Let's see, texture, upscaling. I could probably mess with that. That might fix some things. Let's turn on frame skipping. Let's put it at 2 and see what happens. That about wraps it up for me. Consider subscribing to the channel. Again, this comes out November 5th if you want the base. But yeah, remember, anytime you're using a Raspberry Pi board, so much besides overclocking, you really don't have to overclock. In a lot of cases, you always want to downscale it down or take it down to the lowest possible resolution. And then, of course, let your display do the rest of the work. And that's how you get the best performance on the Pi Zero, as well as your Raspberry Pi board in general. So again, guys, consider subscribing, like and subscribe. I also have a couple of Facebook groups on there where I do troubleshooting and tech support for a number of people in the community. But I'll catch you guys soon. You guys all have a great day. Goodbye.